Hi, folks. Good morning. How are you? It's a Saturday morning in the United States. It might be evening in India. As promised, I'm here again today. It's a Saturday, 9 a.m. So, welcome to our LiveCast. Uh, it is it is an opportunity to talk things over and talk about technical writing and other things, and most of all about this pandemic, the situation we are all in. I am at home. It's been over a week now, and I'm washing my hands and trying to make sure I don't go out too often unless it's necessary to go out for groceries and a few other such essentials. And as I always say, I'm a techno optimist. I believe technology is on our side, and so should be common sense and not going into the crowds. And not that there are any crowds left, frankly, out there. When I go out occasionally in my car or for a short jogging around the block, uh, there's almost no one out there, and for a good reason. Except parents and kids and pets. They all get bored, locked up in the house, obviously. But most businesses are closed except for the essential personnel. And so it's a difficult time, and we will get through this. As I said, testing is getting more frequent, prevalent, spread. People are getting tested, and data is collected, and new units, hospitals are, constructed. Seamus, good morning, my friend. How is Philly doing? Philly, it's a tough city like New York City. I like Philly. Good morning. Yes, indeed. I was talking about that I believe, as a techno optimist, technology is on our side. We will eventually make through this. But the spirit is also important. We are not all, meat and bones. Yes, Seamus, I know cases are climbing, but they talk about this curve, the talking about flattening the curve. At a time like this, it's always shoulda, coulda, woulda. It's second guessing is possible, and we can't help that. We are human beings. We think constantly. But I believe it'll top off at the top apex of the curve, and eventually all the social distancing and testing and all the other measures will bear fruit. I'm sure about that. But while that process is going on, it's important not to lose hope. And regarding that, I would like to share a story about the importance of hope. A man had a terrible accident. He was in cast from top to toe, and they, of course, in the hospital, his legs and arms were in suspension, tied up in all kinds of angles, and he couldn't see anything except hearing and little opening for his mouth and nose. That's all. That was the extent of his contact with the world. Then one day they brought in another patient to the same room. And so they started to talk. And this guy told the new guy, what happened to him. And so the new guy said, I wish you were in my bed because I'm next to the window, and you have no idea what you're missing. And this guy was mumbling with difficulty. He was all in cast. He says, "Tell me what you're seeing." And this other guy started to describe what he was seeing. He said, "My God, there's a wonderful park out there. It's all green lawn, and young people and old, they are strolling, they are flying kites, young lovers walking hand in hand. There are pigeons, there are pets, people are walking their dogs. What a beautiful sunny morning." And this guy started to imagine in his mind while still in his bed what a beautiful, wonderful world might be, actually is out there, based on this guy's reporting. So every day, this guy by the window would describe the wonderful, beautiful world out there, the sunsets and the dawn and various times of the day. And this guy started to get better and better and better. And he had this desire to get well, get up, walk again, and go out to that park and join the world. And so the day has arrived, and they took off the casts. And of course, the first thing he wanted to do is, meet this other guy in person that described to him this wonderful world for all these months. And the bed was empty. He said, "Where's the other guy?" He said, "Well, unfortunately, he passed away." He said, "Okay, please take me to the window. I want to see what's the park outside." And everybody looked at each other. They said, "Okay." So they took him to the window, and there was nothing but this brick wall, red brick wall, looking at the back wall of another hospital unit. And he was really upset. He said, "This SOB, told me about these lies for months." They said, "What did he tell you?" He says, "He described me about this wonderful park, etc." And the doctor says, "No, sir, he couldn't have done that." And the guy got curious. He said, "Why he couldn't have done that?" And the doctor said, "Because he was blind." So, and you can imagine what the guy felt. This blind guy cured, a man with perfect eyes, but he was in a cast by just with the power of his imagination, with hope. I like this story. I'm not suggesting that we should be Pollyannish. We should believe in, in these stories or lies, myths, tales, fables, but hope is important because our immune system is directly connected with that hope. The minute we lose our hope, I believe we will lose everything. I haven't lost my hope. I'm an optimist despite everything. So far, so good. I'm lucky. I don't have any symptoms, and I'm taking care. I'm above a certain age, so I try to take care of myself, do what's logical, what my common sense tells me to do, and I'm a technical writer, so I follow the technical instructions. Google had this fantastic animation showing 5 steps in which you have to clean your hands, soap, wash your hands. And there was one step. I thought I knew how to wash my hands, except when it came to thumbs. Like, you have to hold your thumb and wash it with soap like this. I never did that. Now I started doing it. It's step number 5 on Google's user guide to washing hands. See, there's always a user guide. There's always a list of technical directions. For example, As we speak, hospitals are being formed in New York City. They are setting up all these tents, everything, converting hotels and other buildings, schools to hospitals, makeshift hospitals. And New York is busy. New York is busy. And so is probably Philadelphia, Seamus. And so I can imagine, hundreds and thousands of user guides, spec sheets, installation guys are at work right now. Imagine Javis Center in New York City. You are converting a whole sports arena into a 1,000-bed hospital, which means probably tens of thousands of instruments being installed. So guess what? They're going to need all these user guides and installation sheets. And we have Frank Rudolph. Welcome, my friend. So Seamus says very busy. Yeah, everybody's very busy. So it again comes to somebody telling someone else how to accomplish a goal, how to set up 1,000 beds in a convention center, and how to hook up all the ventilation, heating systems, lighting systems, electricity, cables all over the place. I mean, these things cannot be done randomly. They need to be done in a certain sequence. And that's the heart, core of technical writing. So I can imagine tech writers and at least their products being used very frequently right now. And I hope all those instructions are correct, because that's number one point to technical writing when it's a matter of life and death. Seamus says, the city here, Seamus is from Philadelphia. They are looking for extra space for beds. Yeah, I can imagine that. What are some of the arenas? I haven't been to Philly for a long while. It has a great more than one museum. I like fine arts. So last time I was there, I was at a museum. But I can imagine schools, hotels, nobody's staying at hotels, right? So, but then regulations. There are, for example, all kinds of, when it comes to drugs, FDA regulations. And someone needs to bring down the amount of regulation so they don't have to test everything for 6 months while people are getting sick and God forbid, dying. So, which means, again, a new set of books, new set of instructions, standard operating procedures. So technical communicators right now, I guarantee you, is at the heart of this effort. They are invisible. You will never see a technical writer showing up on CNN, but behind the scenes, they are working. They are creating new documents, new procedures, new lists. A lot of lists are going, checklists, like flying an airplane, like Army Corps of Engineers. They are famous for their lists. They wouldn't leave home without it. Tens of hundreds of lists. Seamus says the convention center is huge, but I think that they have bannered some space by Temple University. Yeah, I agree. Lots of museums. Yep, I just mentioned. I love Philly museums. They are one of the greatest. To me, it's a 2-3 hour drive, but they're worth it. And restaurants. Oh, Seamus, he says, my dad worked for Corps of Engineers. Excellent. Good for him. I mean, right now, Army Corps of Engineers, they are converting all these spaces to hospitals in a hurry. I think, it was time to get military involved. I mean, they are the most disciplined, of all organizations. They know there's a hierarchy, roles are very clear, people know what they're doing, and they have training. They train these scenarios over and over and over, so that when the thing hits the fan, to use an old expression, they don't get flustered. I mean, they are on a war footing. So good for them. I really wish them well. We should all be we are very lucky, and we should all be proud that such an organization is rushing for help in a time of crisis and need. So these are the days we are going through. Frank, Rudolph, Billy, how are you? Where are you from? Are you a technical writer or interested in becoming a tech writer? If you have a story, please feel free to share it with us. Would be happy to learn where you're from. Okay. Now, while we are at home, this is also a good time for learning new things, for training. I always try to look at the silver lining around the dark cloud, and taking this opportunity, oh, wonderful. You are from Congo. Hello. How are you? The miracle of technology, internet. I'm so glad you stopped by. So what do you do? Can I call you Philly? Is that your name? Or like a title? I don't want to mess up people's names. Like I did that to Seamus already, right? I called you Seumas or something like that. My bad. It's a wonderful Irish name, I know. But pronunciation sometimes can be a problem. Well, I keep hearing there aren't too many cases of coronavirus in Africa, in Congo. Is that true? What is the situation in Congo? And the reason they say it's a much warmer country climate. And this thing is not actually a microorganism, I understand. It's just a protein sac. So in warm weather, this sac dissolves, disintegrates. So there are speculation that that's the reason why we don't have too many such cases. Okay, wonderful. If you are interested in technical writing, Frank, can I call you Frank? Philly is my family name. That's great. Your family is Philly, and Seamus is from Philly. That's wonderful. Mysterious are the ways of the Lord. So two Phillies are together here. You're very much welcome, my friend. And if you want to learn technical writing, there are many ways to do that. And I can, for starters, I can recommend you start with my, let me see if it's here, with my website, tcc6.com, where there are almost, I believe, like 2,500 articles on technical writing, on all aspects of technical writing, with writing tips and tutorials. And this is my email address, writer111@gmail.com. You can always write to me. And on Saturday mornings, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time in the United States, I am committed to this LiveCast to answer in person any questions anyone may have. Okay. Frank says there are actually only 19 cases. Oh, okay. Thank you, Frank. Wow, I'm so glad to hear that. That's wonderful. I mean, I'm happy that the whole continent having a different experience, and but you guys, I hope, still washing your hands. That's what they're telling us in the United States. And don't go home. And I heard last number 100 million Americans are now under stay-at-home orders, like I am. I am at home. And Seamus says, my sister is a biomedical engineer. Wow, I'm impressed. Fantastic. So because of the current event, medical tech writing, or maybe going back to electronics. Yeah, from that direction. Well, isn't that something? Yeah. I mean, that's a fair and wise consideration, Seamus, because right now in the environment we are in, medical technical writing is certainly a very viable alternative. It always was, you see, it always was, and especially in pharmaceutical industry, they employ a lot of technical writers. They write these reports to FDA. And as you know, there are regulations for medicine, newly developed medicines, and that process takes a lot of documentation, and so and they make good money too. Probably they are the highest paid technical writers, the ones in the medical writing. And I didn't go into medical writing because I don't have. I frankly, I don't like hospitals. I mean, I like doctors, nurses, but medicine is not my thing. So that's why I didn't go to tech writing. Electronics and maybe coding. Yeah, it's an excellent time to learn coding. And if you go that way, you can actually become, there's this thing called API writing, application programming interface writing. That's a kind of special branch niche in technical writing that there is a high demand. Basically, what it is you write documents for engineers, not for the end users. Like my documentation for the end users. You see? So let me step back. In copywriting, there are two types of writing. You must have heard of this, B2B and B2C. B2B is business to business copywriting, and B2C is business to consumer copywriting. In technical writing, we have a similar split between those who write documentation for consumers, end users, and those who turn inside the organization. They write for their internal, what's called internal clients, customers, which are the other engineers. So to write API documentation, you need to know a little coding, programming. For example, you can start easy with JavaScript, okay? And one of the, by the way, Seamus, best sources I can recommend to you is, his name is Tom Johnson. And one second. Yeah, Tom Johnson. I'd rather be writing.com. He has a very interesting name for his website. I'd rather be writing. My fat fingers. 1 second. Oops. Okay. Now, let me share this with you. Okay, I'd rather be writing. If you go there, Seamus, he is a senior technical writer at Amazon right now. He's a very smart guy, very nice guy, very serious guy. So he has this great tutorial on API writing. So if you go and take his course, it's an online course actually. you will learn all you need to learn about API writing. So this is a good time to sharpen our skills and to push our boundaries and comfort zone. And another good direction to go at right now is structural authoring. Oh, you're Seamus. You're looking at the site, right? I mean, it's a treasure house of information on API writing, and you won't find that in too many other places. So again, thank you, Tom, for making such a resource available to us all in technical communication community. Another name I would like to introduce, if you want to go structured authoring, okay, like this is one of the very few good FrameMaker structured authoring books, manuals that I know of. Make sure you get the second edition, and it is by, where's the name? Matt Sullivan. He's another great name to know. He's a senior technical communicator and trainer. He's Adobe certified. He's very well known in our community. And let me write his name as well, just in case, Seamus, you want to check him out too. Matt Sullivan. And his website is, I believe, Comm Tools. Try this out. I think this is what it is. Yeah. So this is another good time to learn a very cutting edge technical writing skill. I mean, what else to do? We are at home. We might as well learn something new, right? So that's another useful way to use our time. Frank says, from Congo, my friend, I'm a freelance graphic designer. Very good. And I want to switch on technical writing. I used to work with Adobe InDesign. Perfect. So it wasn't too difficult to understand FrameMaker for me. Wonderful. But Frank, I'm going to tell you what. Instead of switching to technical writing, change your frame of reference. Add it on as a second layer. You know why? I always tell people, if you can do technical illustration next to technical writing, that's gold. That's gold. Because that means an employer needs to employ just one guy to do the writing and to draw the illustrations, because we use a lot of illustrations in technical communication. So instead of hiring two people, they can hire you, just one person. So I taught myself some basic illustration skills, and I use them on various occasions. But I'm not a graphic designer. I can't say I am. But it is a skill I recommend to all my students. I mean, if you know how to draw, how to use Adobe Illustrator, plus Adobe InDesign. People have the impression that technical writers use only Microsoft Word or FrameMaker. That's not true. I mean, I use InDesign. Where do I use it? We have these spec sheets, technical specs, wonderful, beautiful looking documents for, again, end users. So those are all done in InDesign. I mean, FrameMaker is a monster, a very powerful program, but you cannot produce the good looking eye candy documents that you can with InDesign. Yes, you're right, Frank. Yeah, it's not only FrameMaker. I have to learn. Check my courses. Let me see. I have a bunch of, I believe 8 courses, and I'm in the process of preparing my 9th course. I think it's going to be a FrameMaker course. So check my courses. 2 of them are free, totally free, and others come with coupons, hard time discounts. And check my website. It is free. And here's a free technical writing course, Frank, for you. It is totally free. So you can take this course for 7 days, see what happens. It's a pretty good introduction to technical writing, for sure. Again, just visit my website. It's just loaded up with all you want to know about technical communication and then some. So those are 2 good places to start from, Frank. Since you're on the internet, there's no difference between taking advantage of these resources in New York versus Congo. We are all in the internet, and here we are on a day like this sharing what we know. But you're absolutely right. Technical writing is not only FrameMaker. You have to be good with Word and Excel, obviously. I mean, it's you can't escape from that. At one point, you will be asked to either create or edit or take data from either Word or Excel. So, okay. Seamus asks, what platforms should an aspiring tech writing know how to use? There are so many. Yeah, you're correct. But I would say, first, if you know your Microsoft Office, right? And especially Word and Excel. I mean, those 2 are must. It's pretty much, it's like basic literacy, in this day and age. And if I were you, I'm partial to FrameMaker. I would use FrameMaker. It has a well-established user base. It is a well-established knowledge base. And it is tested out, and it gets better and better and better. I've been using it for like 20 years easily. And that's pretty much the standard platform, writing, editing, design platform. But as I was telling Frank, if on top of that, if you know how to use InDesign, for example, that's a great plus. If you know how to do graphic design, that's super. And as you were mentioning, Seamus, if you know how to code, know a little about programming, at least, object-oriented programming, OOP, so that you can, when an engineer talks about an object with properties, methods, etc., at least you know what this other person is talking about. So does that answer your question? Though those are the minimal Microsoft Office and Adobe products like FrameMaker, InDesign. If you want to go the graphic direction, of course, Illustrator, Photoshop. And although they have their free equivalents as well, like GIMP, for example, instead of Photoshop, or Inkspace instead of Illustrator. There are free counterparts. Yes, indeed, Seamus. FrameMaker is included in Adobe's Comm suite. I highly recommend at least get a monthly subscription. Like at work, I use Comm suite, but at work, in my home office, as you see right here, I also have my own copy because I'm a professional tech writer. I always want to have access to my own software. And Comm suite, if you are a monthly subscriber, it's like $49 a month. I don't know if anyone can afford it, but I think it's a fair deal, fair offer, because it includes for $49 a month, you get full access to not only FrameMaker, constantly updated. All updates are free, but also to RoboHelp, which is a great online help file creation tool. Even though, I must say, you can now create help files straight from FrameMaker as well. So it comes with Captivate, which is one of the premier learning module editors. You can create this fantastic interactive learning games and presentations, etc. And it comes with, I believe, Adobe Presenter, which is pretty much like it's almost like Camtasia, but very primitive. It's not as sophisticated as Camtasia. You can record things from your screen or from your webcam or other cameras. And most important, or at least as important as FrameMaker, it comes with Adobe Acrobat Pro. And that's a fantastic program, operating system agnostic. Like anyone can send you a document from anywhere, even if it's created on Mac, you can still read it on a PC, etc. And you can make comments, and you can add watermarks. You can change the place of individual pages. You can insert pages, extract pages from a PDF document. You can do so many editing magic with Acrobat Pro. And it also comes as a part of Technical Communication Suite. I'm an Adobe guy. Some other people go with another brand platform, but that's how I had been for over 20 years now, and it works for me. I highly recommend. Yeah, I mean, you can also, as Seamus is saying, subscribe to individual products. Like I believe you can subscribe to only FrameMaker for, I'm not sure, you have to check this, but something like $15 or $19, something like that. But if you're a technical writer, why not get the whole bundle for just $49? I think it's cost effective and it makes sense that way. I don't think it makes sense to subscribe to all these individual, software products one by one. It'll cost you a lot more, for sure, definitely. So that's where we are at again. And I have two other resources to recommend to you. One is this book. As you know, every Saturday I have a big library, these books that I love. And you can get everything online, pretty much everything, not everything really, because if something is out of print, it's tough to find it online. This is Technical Communication, Process and Product by Sharon Gerson, Stephen Gerson. And I highly recommend it. It's a very comprehensive A to Z kind of book that if it has something to do with technical writing and communication, they have it here. And here is a contents page. From audience recognition, even ethical consideration, document design, how to search for a job, communicating to persuade, social media, websites, online help, reports, how to do research, oral presentation, grammar. I mean, it's got a lot. And here is this diagram that I really like about the place of a writer inside an organization. What does it mean to be a writer? As you can see, we are in the midst of a big network in a company, if you are working for a company, of course. So it has tons of useful stuff. I mean, how many pages? 575 pages of gold. So I highly recommend Technical Communication Process and Product by Sharon and Stephen Gerson. God bless them. I'm very happy they wrote this book. Oh, Aaron is here. Hello, Aaron. How are you, my friend? Yeah, I'm sure it's sold on Amazon. I mean, mine is not the latest edition. Mine is the 9th edition. It's a popular book, popular resource. So I don't know. I haven't checked Amazon or what the most recent edition is, but I'm pretty sure it should be available from various vendors on the internet, online. Are you from Agra, Arun? I see Taj Mahal in the background of your nice picture. Welcome. Yeah, that's what it is. It is a good book. Okay, I have another resource. If you guys don't have any questions, as I said, I have hundreds of books in my library. A technical writer, I collected them like a squirrel collects nuts, because I like these books very much. I'm very happy with them. Oh, Arun is from Chennai. Great. I have a lot of Indian colleagues that I work with them regularly online and also in person. I have never been to India, unfortunately, but they come visit us from India. I had the opportunity, to meet them, work with them. They are very smart, wonderful engineers, all of them. So, and Chennai, I know there are a lot of technical writers in Chennai. If I'm not wrong, you may want to check this. I think STC, Society for Technical Communication, might have a chapter either in Chennai or somewhere close to that. So, Seamus says, does your website recommend any other textbooks, writing guides? Yes, there are quite a few book reviews, Seamus, on my site. Some are old, some are relatively new. You may want to go through that. But in terms of like a list of books recommended, I don't have that. And that's a good idea. That's an excellent idea. I should have like a reference sheet of some of the best books in our field and in my library, why I like them. Yeah, that's a good idea. Here you go. And another new page for the website. Definitely. Now, this is book, not the latest. It's an old edition. Adobe RoboHelp 8 HTML by Icon Logic. Okay. You may want to visit this company's website, iconlogic.com. It's a great training company. And Kevin Siegel is the owner. I met him once at a conference, extremely dynamic, smart guy. And RoboHelp is a part of the technical communication suite. And Icon Logic books and online, they have online webinars, seminars, training, that kind of thing. So you can learn RoboHelp, and you can also order these books through Amazon. They are very, very well prepared books. Like here's a page, confidence check. And they do a very good job, full of like student activity, a lot of exercises by screenshots. So like If you like to learn RoboHelp, as well as many other applications, they have FrameMaker courses, they have Camtasia courses, they have all kinds of courses. So this is also a great resource. I like the way they introduce a topic, and they have a lot of student activities, as well as what they call confidence check, like to feel confident in your skills. Whoops, here it is. I think I need one of those overhead projectors to show these book pages. But at least now you know Icon Logic, and they have very good training materials for technical writers, is all I'm saying. iconlogic.com. Go to their website, and you will see all their offerings. So, as we are closing in on 1 hour, I'm so glad you guys showed up. We have Arun from Chennai, Seamus from Philly, and Frank from Congo. How great is that? Wonderful. Our world is connected very quickly through internet. And I hope due to those same connections, we will beat this coronavirus pandemic. And I'm sure there'll be much better days ahead. But then this is a good time for reflection. It's a good time for retraining and thinking where we want to go in life. Okay, we have a question about data. Data is Darwin Information Typing Architecture. Believe it or not, it's an acronym. And it is the major paradigm for structured authoring. Remember this book? Frank, I will recommend you this book by Matt Sullivan, FrameMaker Structured Authoring. This was a topic that we were just covering in the beginning of this LiveCast. And data is important if you are doing structured authoring. If you are not doing structured authoring, it's not important at all. It's a highly specialized, cutting-edge form of technical writing. It needs training. It is a learning curve. You really have to commit yourself to it. And then you need an organization or client who wants that type of writing. So it is based on XML coding, tags. So the XML engine in FrameMaker automatically takes care of the tagging. I highly recommend you download a 30-day trial copy of FrameMaker if you already don't have it. And you can go to Edit, Preferences, and then shift from structured to non-structured FrameMaker back and forth. So you can try both versions in the same copy of FrameMaker. So Seamus says, can you talk about agile methodology? Yeah, tech writing, on and on process around tech about writing itself. Yeah, and it made the field sound very complicated. Seamus, basically, agile as a process is a software development process. It used to be, the dominant process used to be called the waterfall process, which I still believe in, by the way. In this process, you started from market specifications, what the customer wants from software. Then you develop the main architecture of the software, the clients and the servers, how they will interact, how many different levels, right? And then the engineers, developers develop the software, right? while someone like me started to write the documents, and at the end, it all tied up, right? So this process may take 1 year or 18 months, etc. At the end, you have a finished product, right? And if the problem with this method is, if the product is not the correct product or something goes wrong, all those 18 months of efforts, they all go to not waste, but you have a problem. You wasted all this time for this huge product. Imagine building a car. So like you built the whole car before releasing it. In Agile methodology, you develop just a small viable portion of that product in like 2 weeks, 3 weeks. So if something goes wrong, you lose only 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. You see, it's almost like manufacturing only the steering wheel of the car, or only the left rear tire. Make sure it's a good tire. Then you eventually slowly put all these parts together. That's what Agile methodology is all about. And to coordinate, to make sure that all these different parts actually will add up to a meaningful whole at the end, we have a lot of meetings, what's called scrums. So Agile teams meet constantly, almost daily, and to make sure they finish a small part of the total project quickly. So it's like a race against time without sacrificing quality. So that kind of methodology. And tech writers are, if the company adopts that methodology, tech writers are part of the what's called Scrum teams. They have their own small documentation jobs, which are called like stories, tasks. Agile has its own terminology. You can read a lot about it on the internet. It starts from epics, the great concept, the epic, and then it is whittled down to stories, and the stories are funneled down to tasks, concrete tasks. So that's what roughly Agile methodology is about. I hope I was able to give you a rough idea what it is. And you can, again, check my website. I think I've written a couple of articles about Agile methodology. I'm not a 100% convert to Agile methodology. I don't know to what extent it increases productivity, or at the end increases the market chances of a company. But that's my private personal opinions. As a whole, these days, everybody in the software sector seems to be adopting Agile methodology. So, yeah, look at those, Seamus. Frank asks, technical writer can work on freelance. Yeah, of course. Why not? It is a form of writing. The only thing is, in technical writing, Frank, sometimes you deal with confidential and proprietary materials. So some employers may not want to share those with you freely. That's why they may insist you work on premises. Like you have a card, you swipe at the door, there's a lock, you go in there, and like they say, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. They say what happens in this office stays in this office, right? It is technical, hardware, software, market competition is fierce. So all companies try to control their intellectual property, IP. So there may be a problem, but if you have VPN, virtual private network, you can hook up with any company, and you can have access to their network with their permission, and you can work just as though you live and work in that office. And so The thing is with freelancing, Frank, is marketing. You have to market yourself. And most writers are not marketers. You know, we like to read, we like to write, we like to think, we like to conceptualize, we like information, we like all these things. But marketing and sales is something totally different. When you're a freelancer, you have to say, hey, I'm here, you know, you have to keep advertising all the time. But if you have a network, like if you're part of a social group, a club, association, a church, mosque, something, if you have a family of 1,000 people who needs user guides, then you're very lucky. You don't have to market yourself. You know, you can write for uncles, aunts. But seriously, marketing is an issue with freelancing. And then comes, it's a small business. You have to know how to deal with money, accounting, pay your taxes. And yeah, all of a sudden you have all these headaches that you don't have if you're working for a company. It's all been taken care of for you. And there's the issue of insurance, like medical insurance, disability insurance, pension, retirement, all these things. If you're a freelancer, you have to think about them in advance on your own. Whereas in a company, there's an HR department, there's a structure, they take care of all that for you. So for which I'm grateful, because I'm not a great marketer myself. I'm not a great business person. So yeah. Frank, if you are bad on marketing, I don't recommend you freelancing, because you know, you will be this great writer and information designer, content designer, and you will be sitting there looking at your phone. You know, are there any messages? Where are the customers? So I mean, freelancing sounds great. If you go on the internet, everybody's singing the praise. They are usually very young people. They have not been around for too long. You know, I have nothing against age. Don't misunderstand me. But some things that look very nice and pleasant when you are just starting out your career, you are a very young person, you start to see, you know, why it may not be such a good idea. You know, in English, we call them the school of hard knocks. You know, you learn these things. And so I have a lot of respect for freelancers, because it's a very tough gig, you know. I know quite a few technical communicators who form their own consultancy companies, and but starting off as a freelance technical writer might require some marketing and personal skills that most writers don't have, that I know of. Ah, there you go. Frank is asking, how can I get paid as freelancer? See, that's one of the difficulties when you're a freelancer. There will be times when you deliver the stuff and, hey, where's the payment? You call them, they will say, well, next month, you know, in 60 days, 90 days. So payment is a problem, you know, in freelancing. But you're asking per page like we do with magazine. No, I would really recommend against that. Frank, I wrote an article on Medium. Since I love writing, I also write non-technical stuff. And one of the places I publish them is on Medium. I wrote an article, I think the title was Why You Should Rather write for free than quoting an hourly rate. You see, you have to be very careful when you quote a price by units, you know, whether the unit is hour or per page. You may get into trouble. You know, again, school of hard knocks, my friend. I'm talking from experience. The minute you quote a unit, they will negotiate you to death. Basically, I highly recommend you read my article on medium.com and you try to charge per project. They are hiring your expertise. They are not hiring pages. They are not hiring hours. There's a job to be done, and you do it. Whether you do it in 10 pages, 5 pages, 10 hours, 5 hours, it's not none of their business. It's your business. So the same job can be done at 1 hour or 10 hours. It depends on the writer. So that's a very sensitive, important topic that you should think twice, Frank. If you want to go freelancing, you should really establish your brand. You see, you should establish yourself as a very skilled professional who has certain set fees. And otherwise, they will negotiate you all the way to the bottom of the payment scale, because there will always be someone who's charging less per page, less per hour. But there is only one Frank Rudolph. Am I right? So that's what you need to sell. And of course, follow it up with good works. Your delivery is important. But until and unless you establish yourself as Frank Rudolph, Philly, they will say, well, how come you charge $10 an hour? This guy charges $8 an hour. I mean, you go to all these freelancing sites, there's no end. It's madness. People are saying, I can do a website for $2. How can you do it for $2 or $5? Because a guy in country XYZ decided that's what he was going to charge. And so they expect the same from you. And I wouldn't bother with such customers at all. Either they recognize you for what you are worth, or it's a lot of headache. It's not worth to start the relationship to start with. So Seamus says, would you recommend technical writing as a retirement career? Of course. Except we don't call it retirement career, Seamus. We call it consultancy. Some of us become consultants, either at an early age or at a retirement age. And you can also keep just producing the regular technical documentation because age, as far as I know, is not an issue. People are not interested how old you are. They're interested what you can do for them, right? That's the, I think both in Philly and New York, they ask that question, what did you do for me lately? That's what counts, what you can produce. Even if you are 6 years old or 160 years old, doesn't matter, what you can do for me is the main question. And the thing is, if you come to the retirement age as a tech writer, by that time, hopefully, you're a known, proven quantity, right? You're part of different organizations, groups. You have your own network, right? So it becomes, I think, easier and easier to find jobs. Yeah, I think if you think about the consultancy angle, a lot of doors open up. And I would highly recommend, if you are that kind of person, Seamus, to dovetail that consultancy business with public speaking business. Like, those two careers feed off of each other. Like, you can go make a presentation at a conference or association, convention, something. And there you can pick up a lot of new clients for your consultancy business, writing business. And the more you write, the more you do that, the more you will be invited to these public presentation opportunities. So there are these ways that these complementary careers help each other and feed on each other. So you can approach more general and more integrated career planning for your, not only for your later years, but for any year, for that matter. So, my dear friends, we are a little over an hour on our live cast. I hope this has been useful for you. And next Saturday, I'll be there again to answer your questions the best I can. So I thank you, Seamus from Philly, Frank from Congo, and Arun from India, Chennai, India. I really appreciate it. And stay healthy, my friends. Wash your hands and keep up the hope. Don't give in to pessimism. We are going through hard times, but even this shall come to pass. I'm sure about that. So with that, I'm saying goodbye. And you can always write to me at writer111. You can always visit my website, tcc6.com. And you can check all my courses on Udemy. And you can always write to me at writer111gmail.com. I usually answer my mail within 24 hours. So with that, I say goodbye to you all. Thank you very much for showing up on a Saturday. And I hope to see you again next Saturday, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Yes, Seamus, I'm going to wash my face too. Hands, face. Taking a shower is much easier, right? Okay. All right. Definitely. Thank you very much, my friends. Keep washing your hands. Keep learning. It's a great time to learn new things when you're at home. And let's keep in touch. So with that, I say goodbye. See you next week. Take good care.